Well, good morning and welcome back to my channel. Well, it's cherry time again, and I thought I'd do a video about dessert cherries. I've spoken about my cherry trees on many of my previous videos, and I thought what I'd do today is just a little bit of information about the growing of dessert cherries, in case I know I have a lot of subscribers from the United States of America, and I thought it might be quite interesting if anyone grows cherries in that part of the world, if you could leave me some comments and some of your experiences about growing these, and I'll try and give you a little bit of an insight into the growing of dessert cherries in the United Kingdom. So if you haven't been to the United Kingdom or you're not very familiar with the growing situations for various fruits and vegetables over here, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of an insight. Now, I live in the far southeastern corner of the United Kingdom, and we are blessed with the driest weather. We also have the warmest weather as well, although the southwest of the United Kingdom, which is places like Cornwall, Devon, the Scilly Isles, they have also got very mild climate, and they're particularly good for the growing of things like daffodils and potatoes. Very early potatoes are lovely and come from Cornwall. But over here in the southeast of England, we are blessed with an ability to grow most things, plus quite a few Mediterranean items, as long as we can actually provide them with a south-facing aspect. So it is, as I say, a mild climate, and this year has been a little bit different in the sense we've had quite a bit of rain. And I don't actually have an outside tap at my house, so normally this time of year I'd be busy with watering cans for hours of the day, but this year not so much. We've had a lot of rain, and so cherries are a particular favourite of mine. I grow Morello cherries, which are the sour cherries that you can cook with, but my favourites really are the dessert cherries, because I grow them organically, and in this part of the world they are very easy to grow. And I would say that in general this becomes less so the further north you go. If you try to grow cherries in Scotland, you can, and you can do this very, very successfully. But the further north you go in Scotland, the more difficult this becomes. And of course, anywhere that's subject to wind, like the Outer Hebrides, for example, it will be almost impossible, because once the blossom comes on the trees, the blossom needs to stay there for the pollination of the fruit, and it's not possible in places like that where you have an awful lot of wind. And also the trees can be very frost damaged as well if you have a lot of frost in where you are living. So certainly in the southeast of England you can grow them, and in fact in parts of Kent particularly, and Essex, they are grown commercially, particularly so in Kent. And I think what has really happened in the last few years is that the availability of cherries, eating cherries to be grown on dwarf rootstocks, has really revolutionised the way that these cherries can be grown. And I think traditionally the idea of large cherries on very tall rootstocks, where traditionally people used to pick them using ladders, is now not really the situation anymore. And there's a beautiful cherry farm which I have gone to over the years, and it's absolutely gorgeous, but there's no sign of ladders there at all, as there was previously. So certainly that has helped. But having said that, there's nothing more majestic than the sight of a cherry tree which is reaching up to the sky on a colt rootstock, where you can expect the tree to grow in excess of 12 to 15 foot over a period of 10 to 20 years. And that's exactly what has produced these beautiful bowl of cherries you're now looking at. So if I show you, this is my Stella cherry tree, and she is in fact now 30 years old and is what I like to refer to her as a dear old friend. I planted her as a little tiny twig, really, that I sent forth from a mail order nursery, and she's just a little bit older than my youngest son, and I absolutely adore her. She is now almost as tall as my house, and not only does she provide a lot of shelter, but she also provides this most wonderful blossom, which I've shown on previous videos, and now of course the cherries. Now this year is a bumper crop, and as you can see if I show you close up, it is festooned right up to the sky. I mean, some of the ones at the top I can't pick because the birds will get those. I mean, there's an enormous clump at the top here, which I can see, but I'll never get. But I don't care, because that's for the birds, and I'm really happy for them to have some because they are just wonderful. You can freeze these, but I think the beauty of them really is to pick them and to enjoy them. And I tend to pick them when they are just turning red. I don't wait for them to be red, because if you do that you will find that the birds have got them before you, particularly early in the morning. So I wait until I can see, if you look here, just as they're turning red, then I will pick them, and they carry on ripening in the house, so you know there's no problem. But this is carrying pounds and pounds and pounds of cherries. It's in a very sunny part of the garden, as I've explained in previous videos, unlike Morello cherries, which will have no problem at all growing in a north-facing aspect. Dessert cherries need sun, and that's exactly what this tree has. So this is my Stella cherry tree, and she's in full production, and my goodness me, does she save me a fortune in money, because organic cherries are very, very expensive. And we'll be picking these now. We're looking at late June. We're picking these for another 3 weeks at least, because they don't all ripen at the same time. Some of them are green still. So over the next 3 or 4 weeks we'll be completely self-sufficient in these wonderful cherries. So this is my Stella. As I say, she is now 30 years old, and I was so impressed with her, I think, that I purchased 2 more over the years. So I'll just take you over here and show you those. Now obviously these are much smaller. This one here is called Summer Sun, and but this one's doing really well. Because I have a very small garden and fenced all the way round, it takes them quite a long time to reach the height of the fence, because I tend to buy them very small. So you need a lot of patience if you're going to do that, because once they get to the top of the fence, as you can see here, in the last 2 or 3 years it's put on a lot of growth above the fence, and now it's well established. I would think this one is probably 10 years old now, and it's getting quite a deep, quite a thick set trunk. So I'm very pleased with that. This is variety Summer Sun, a little bit behind the Stella, and not carrying anywhere near the crop, but it's carrying a good crop. I mean, you know, not doing too badly at all. So I'm very pleased with this, and you know, as I say, she's got 20 years to catch up with the other one. And then right in the corner here is my newest purchase, which I'm just going to struggle to show you actually, because it's right over there. This is variety Sunburst, and she's against this fence here, near my wildflower meadow. And that particular tree is only 2 years old. It's probably older than that, but I bought it from a nursery. And again, very young, just a few fruit at the top, but in 30 years that will be a massive, massive tree. So I highly recommend growing these cherries. I think one of the things about them is that you're then producing something that is very expensive to buy, but the joy, I mean the joy of seeing the birds having their breakfast off these, but blackbirds particularly love them, the wonderful canopy, and just the joy of knowing that this is something that spans back 3 decades. And it's just absolutely lovely, and it is really my favourite tree, and I can't tell you how much I love this tree. So I would say it's well worth growing them, and have a look round. There's some wonderful mail order nurseries where you can get them from, and or you can go to your local garden centre. But the variety is wonderful. The Stella variety, which is what this is, produces these wonderful cherries, which I absolutely love, and it's they just tell you it's summer, which is just such a happy sight to see. You know, the first bowl of the cherries from this season, and I highly recommend you have a go at growing them. You just need to have a nice southerly or west-facing place. If you've got no fences, if you're lucky enough to have a large garden, then give her the space, and you will have, you know, a much quicker growing tree, and it'll be absolutely beautiful. So I highly recommend these, and certainly if you live in the south of the British Isles, you'll have a wonderful time growing these.